Morning, this is Brian. Today is Thursday, May 9th, 2024. Back in Ruffin Canyon. Back at Ruffin Canyon. Looks like I missed the peak of the hollyleaf cherry blooming. I'm probably just going to do a short hike, short little walkabout here in Ruffin Canyon. Nothing long and drawn out, but never been here in the springtime to Ruffin Canyon. Always been here in the summer months. So, here I am here in this late spring, looking to see what kind of stuff I could find. And here's something I'm just noticing for the first time. Don't mind that weird noise, it's from the school. California spine shrub, Adolphia californica. I never noticed this here before. Look at the seed capsules. Yeah, it's just school announcements. There's a middle school right here, Taft Middle School. But yeah, never noticed that there was a California spine shrub, Adolphia californica, growing here. First time I've ever seen one here. So, been in this canyon. I think this will be at least the fourth time I've been here, and that's the first time I ever noticed that. I just happened to catch that out of the corner of my eye. Very interesting. So we do have Adolphia californica here. Pretty cool. See, you can come back to a spot repeatedly and not even realize what other things are found here. So I'm just going to go hike this for a little while. Just enjoy some fresh air. Full bloom here, Adolphia. So Adolphia was out of full bloom and is now turning into seed. But look what's in full bloom right now. Oh, Baiopsis laciniata. California's beautiful native San Diego bush sunflower. Absolutely stunning how beautiful that plant is right now in bloom. It's a cool looking plant all year long, but when it blooms, it's really spectacular. This is a great way to spend a beautiful May morning. Now, as the rainy season is pretty much shut off for the year, the grasses are drying out, but a lot of our later spring bloomers are really exploding right now. So this is a great time to appreciate this place. Wow, yeah, this is awesome. So I should have another video up from today, from earlier. I was over in Tirasana trying to hike through a canyon. I was trying to hike through I think it's an unnamed canyon. I'm not sure if it even has a name, but couldn't get very far into it because the trail kind of petered out. I was actually going to try to approach Ruffin Canyon from Gramercy instead of the usual trailhead at the corner of Gramercy and Ruffin, but the trail on Gramercy on the other side of the school is closed, so I'm not supposed to access it from there. That's what I was going to try to do, so I ended up doing is just walking over. Ooh, hey buddy, good morning. Western fence lizard. yeah. So instead of driving all the way to driving that little bit back to Gramercy, where the school is, because a bunch of other vehicles parked there. It's the only time I've ever seen that. I just ended up just staying there and just walking the distance to get here. Short, it's a short walk. Plus, I need the exercise. My hiking hasn't been up to par lately, so here I am. I'm not going to do a big long one. I might even jump to another spot a little bit later, but kind of just want to check out Ruffin Canyon in the spring. Never experienced this place in the spring. It's always been between the months of July and September, during the summer months, when it's usually brown and not much blooming. So I get to see it during the glorious spring months. I think these are carpenter bees. Oh no. Actually, that's kind of a fly. I don't think that's a bee. It looks more like a fly than a bee. I'm not an entomologist, so I'm not really an expert on insects, but the shape of it kind of suggested fly rather than bee. I got this little damselfly. It keeps landing in front of my feet. I'm trying not to step on it. Yep. Look at that old lemonade sumac, lemonade berry, baby. That's an oldie. That's an oldie and very much a goodie. That's an old one right there. What I love about these canyons on these steep slopes, you get some really old growth plants here. What a beauty. What a magnificent specimen. Okay. All right. Well, moving on with this awesome morning. One little addendum to what I was talking about earlier. I have been in this canyon once in October, so I've been here in fall. Been here once in early October. Actually, the first time I came to this canyon was October 2016 with my friend Brett. But I don't have any video from that, so I wasn't filming at that time. But I do. So I've been here, but it's always during the dry season, so I've never been here during or after a luscious rainy season. So now I get to experience it. So now I'm going to be taking you guys along with me to experience Ruffin Canyon in the spring. And it is definitely not disappointing. I'll tell you that right now. Look at all of these everlastings. I'm not sure what species this one is. This might be Bioletes. This might be Bioletes cudweed here, or Bioletes everlasting. So I think this might be Pseudonephalium bioleti. It's a species I have seen and can generally tell apart, but there are several other species of Pseudonephalium that I do not know too well. Alright, so if you've seen my videos, you know I love this portion of the hike here. Shady lemonade berry, literally lemonade berry forest, hiking through this section. A lot of low bridges. Me not being a very tall guy, I can usually duck under pretty easily, but people who are closer to 6 feet tall might have to bend down quite a bit, or bend over quite a bit to get through this without bonking your head. Yeah, I love this part of the hike. Hiking down into the canyon bottom. This is definitely one of the neatest parts of the journey. I got a western fence lizard right at the edge of that staircase. Head raised up. Might not be able to see it too well on camera. Are you a he or a she? Can't tell yet. But it just keeps kind of scurrying down. Male, doing the head push-ups. Yeah, buddy, I'm going to be coming this way too. Not to bother you. There we go. Head push-ups. Bobbin displays. Yeah, don't worry. Just cutting through, buddy. Yeah, here's the real shady part right here. Yeah, I love this part. You've seen a couple of my other videos of this area. I think this is the third time I filmed in this. This is the fourth time I've been to this canyon, I believe. The third time I've filmed in here. I don't think I noticed that sign before. Yeah. This used to be the turnoff to access the trail leading up towards Gramercy on the other side of the middle school. There's another fence lizard. Look at that. Hello, little buddy. There's a young one. What a beautiful little guy. What a beautiful little lizard. But yeah, used to be able to go that way. So this is a new sign. This was not here the last couple times I was here. Used to be able to cut that way. I've never made it the whole way up towards Gramercy because after a certain point it became very overgrown. But I remember trying it one time and it became overgrown, so I couldn't make it all the way up. But now it's completely closed. One more parting shot at our little buddy here. Are you a male or female? I can't see underneath you too well. I'm trying to see if I can see the blue throat patches. Male, female, it's all good. It's a beautiful, beautiful lizard on a beautiful morning. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about here. Now we're going to approach another landmark in this canyon, the huge thickets of San Diego mountain mahogany down here. Here we go, Cercocarpus minutiflorus. I've got a nice little patch of it here. This is the only patch I've seen in this canyon. But then again, there are other aspects of this canyon I've yet to visit. So there might be more somewhere else. But yeah, it's the first time coming here in spring. This is the first time I've seen them so densely clothed in foliage. So usually when I come here to during the dry season when some of the old leaves have shed off. But yeah, Cercocarpus minutiflorus. This is where I did my spotlight video back in September of 2021. I did a spotlight on this specimen, these specimens here in this thicket. This is also the same canyon where I did a spotlight video on hollyleaf cherry, and I started my spotlight video on toyon. So this toyon it was a multi-season video, so I can show it off during its bloom and fruiting periods. So I've done a few spotlight videos in this canyon. Here we are, beautiful mature sumac toyon or toyon sumac shrubland, full of lemonade berry, which is the sumac portion of it, and of course toyon, the other portion of it. So yes, so you probably have heard me say lemonade sumac and lemonade berry. When you hear that, it's the same plant. As Broombacris has gotten so large. Some of these are about 10 feet tall. These are very large, very tall Broombacris specimens. But this is definitely not out of the realm of possibility for them. They can get very large. There are a lot of damselflies flying around here. I wonder if the wash has got a lot of water in it. So I've never been here in springtime, so I've never experienced it right after a rainy season. So I'm assuming there's going to be some water in there. Some more water than I'd normally see coming here in September, July. All right, well, I'm going to move on and keep you posted. See some toyon seedlings here. Oh, a bunch of them. Some of these might have been from 2023. A bunch bunch of 20-ounce seedlings in here. Oh, look at that. There's a gang of them growing here. This is what happens after 2 awesome rainy seasons. They are able to establish. Most of these would have been dead during a drier rainy season. A lot of these would have been already gone by now, but these look like second-year seedlings. Or, yeah, that probably sprouted in spring of 2023. I have a bunch of 20-ounce seedlings down here. How awesome is that? That is so cool. Just a gang of them over here. I wonder where the parent shrub/shrubs. I wonder where they are. The parent shrubs. Thinking of an idea for other types of video content I can create for my channel. Been thinking about it for a while. Now, I do have quite a few different types of videos I record. Most of them are these vlog style hikes that I do in canyons and climbing up mountains and hills and stuff like that. So I have my regular hiking videos, and then I have my spotlight videos, and which focus on native plants, native shrubs, native plants, native trees. And then I have trees of San Diego, or trees of San Diego County, also shrubs and vines and plants of San Diego County, which I focus on ornamental species, not native. So I'm thinking of maybe introducing some other type of concept videos to enhance my channel. I'm thinking of also doing spotlight videos on vegetation types. In other words, not just individual plants, but plant communities. I was thinking about doing that. Maybe spotlight on coastal sage scrub, spotlight on yellow pine forest, spotlight on southern maritime chaparral, montane chaparral, stuff like that. So what I'm trying to think of, and they're going to be fairly specific. So in other words, it's not just going to be spotlight on chaparral as a whole community, but spotlights on individual types of chaparral, like I mentioned. Southern maritime chaparral, like the stuff you find at Torrey Pines. Then your typical chaparral that you normally find in the foothills and lower mountain slopes, and then the upper montane chaparral, which has a lot of stuff that grows up into the subalpine belt. And then spotlights on the yellow pine forest, subalpine forest. I'm thinking about maybe introducing those to the channel. So I'd have not only spotlight on individual plant species, but spotlights on plant and biotic ecosystems. If I had a more steady hand and a little more formal practice, I would try to do animal spotlights as well. But that usually doesn't work out too well for me. Maybe not the best at getting wildlife on camera. But if I were to improve that a little bit, I would love to do spotlights on animals, like spotlights on lizards, spotlights on snakes. But it probably require me to have to actually handle the animals to keep them with me so I can spotlight them. And I'm a little overly cautious in the sense of I don't want one false move to put the animal in danger, or of me getting bitten. But I don't really like to pick up wildlife too much. So I think that's probably why I don't get a lot of good wildlife shots, is I don't like to handle wildlife too much. Not because I don't love being around it. I absolutely love being around wildlife. You know, when I see a snake, I get all crazy, bent out of shape, going crazy happy. But I also don't want to. I want to minimize the amount of discomfort I put animals through. So I'm probably not the best candidate for doing those type of videos. But I would love to be able to spotlight them more. But I'm just trying to think of different ideas I can do to up the ante a little bit. Try to even broaden the amount of the types of videos I put on the channel. I mean, obviously, yes, I'm going to be talking like crazy about the plants, but I want to broaden it out a little bit. And I've been thinking in the back of my head on doing a field guide video on the scrub oaks of Southern California. Anywhere from the coastal scrub oak at Torrey Pines to the Mueller scrub oak and some of the desert foothills of the mountains, and also including all those different types, the acutidens, the Berberidafolia. I've done spotlight videos on most of those, but I like to do a field guide video, go to different locations, take my time filming it, and then come back, get the video together so I can go to different places and film the different species of scrub oaks and make one whole coherent video full of pictures and lecturing about the species. I would love to do that too, so I'm thinking of keeping that in the back of my mind as I stomp around, especially stomp around here in San Diego County in Southern California. Would love to do field guide videos as well. So, the possibility of those coming up, I'd say pretty good. Something to maybe look forward to on the channel in future episodes. Hollywood cherry. I need to find some more Catalina cherry so I can do a spotlight on Catalina cherry as well. So, be on the lookout for hopefully some different types of videos. Well, I'm obviously going to be very botanically inclined, of course, but I like to broaden out the context on how I do spotlight videos in the future. So keep an eye out for that, possibly maybe starting off sometime this year. And some more spotlight videos. I've been very slow on doing spotlight videos this year. There are some plants I'm wanting to spotlight that are mostly found up in the mountains, but I want to spend time getting them in different seasons, so my spotlight videos can actually be even more detailed, at least visually detailed. Talking is not the same as showing, so like I want to do a spotlight on Pacific dogwood, so I want to go up to Palomar Mountain or Cuyamaca, find them, and document them. Alright. If I could do that, then I can make my videos come alive a little bit more. So I could do them by season instead of just one season, just describing what the flowers look like. I could show you what the flowers look like, and then on the same video, show you what the fall color looks like. So I'll catch up with you on the next clip as I move along here. So here I am, before moving on. Just like I expected to find a lot more water down in this canyon, and boy did I. And there's enough water here in the drainage that I see mosquito fish swimming around in here. I didn't know that mosquito fish would be found here, especially since since we're drying out now and the creek is turning more into segregated pools of water based on the topography of the wash. As you can see here, it's drier here because it's higher up, and it's down here as a depression, so the rainwater's still well in here. So now we're in separate pools of water now that we're in the dry season. The dry season's well underway. But I did see what looked like some mosquito fish swimming around in here. So there must be pools of these, must be pools that are large enough to sustain populations of mosquito fish. It must stay wet enough for them to be able to survive and then probably expand their range when the rainy season is here, cutting through the canyon bottom and allowing populations to move. So basically, I bet you the mosquito fish population expands and contracts depending on the season. But when I first came up here, I did see what looked like, yeah, I could see a young mosquito fish fry down there in the bottom. But I did see a couple of fish swimming around. I know they weren't tadpoles because I know what tadpoles look like. So here I come, right over here. I can actually see. If you see things moving around on the camera, those are young mosquitoes. So yeah. Yeah, those little things moving around are actually very young mosquito fish. Ooh, hold up. We gotta do a little rescue mission here. There's a honeybee stuck in the water. Wait a minute. Let me see. Looks like it's kind of struggling right there. Gently. Oh, come on. Just trying to gently get it out. Okay. I'm just making sure it's okay. Okay, both wings are on it, so it should be okay. It's almost at the edge of the water. Sometimes I feel like sometimes you got to help things along a little bit. It looks like the bee's a little... Oh, the bee's going in the water again. Hold on. Oh, gosh. Come on, little buddy. There we go. There. Nice and gentle. Now it'll have a chance to dry out and fly away. All right. Oh, got a lot of arroyo willow. Arroyo willow right here. Looks like branches got buried under the soil, so they're setting up new shoots. Well, yeah, there's a bunch of mosquito fish in here. There's something else waddling around in there. I couldn't tell what it was. It might have been a toe biter or some other type of aquatic insect, but yeah, look at that. Yeah, these are young mosquito fish, Gambusia affinis. You might be able to see them on camera. I don't know if the water's too shiny, but things like kind of squiggling and skirting around. Yeah, those are young mosquito fish. They're not native. The western mosquito fish is not a native species. It's cool to see some water, though. Not gonna lie. I always have fun in this. I always love this canyon. That palm stump over there, I had to stop and make sure I wasn't looking at a big lizard, but we don't have any really humongous species of lizards out here. Not native here in western San Diego County. Go to eastern San Diego County, in the low elevations behind Mount Laguna, like down in Anza Borrego, you got desert iguanas and chuckwallas. Never got to experience those in the wild. So yeah, nice to see a lot more water here. That's what I love about visiting this canyon. So one thing, also, a lot of blue elderberry in this canyon, and they're blooming too. Sambucus nigra caerulea. I hear some California quail way off in the background calling. It's one of a lot of things to enjoy about our canyon here in Southern California. Here, especially in San Diego County, where there are just so many of these erosional mesa canyons. There you go, hollyleaf cherry. Full bloom! And the cicadas, the woodland cicadas, or cicada species, they're starting to buzz now too. Once we go in more into June and July, those cicadas are going to be buzzing really loudly. You'll be able to hear them on camera. Usually when we start getting more into the mid to upper 70s and 80s during the summertime is when you're going to start hearing them going crazy. Yeah, I love this canyon. Yeah, that's why I don't mind coming back here to film more, because there's just a lot to see. Like this beautiful red willow here. Ooh, okay, and I see some larger mosquito fish in here now. Yeah, there's mosquito fish all in here now. Larger ones, more adult-sized ones. Mosquito fish are usually only a couple inches long. Not very large fish to begin with. Very thankful we had a good rainy season this year. But now you can tell things are starting to get more stagnant as the water flow is slowing down. So now we're getting a lot more algae. And we got tadpoles. Hello. We got some tadpoles in here now. I'm assuming these are probably Baja chorus frog tadpoles. There's one there. Might be able to see it wiggling a little bit. But we got tadpoles over here, and of course small aquatic snails. I'm glad I came over here. I didn't realize how close Santo Road got to Arrow Drive, because I was in Tierra Santa earlier. Really glad I made it down here. So one thing I would love to see one day are the eggs, the strings of eggs that these frogs lay. That would be a really cool sight to see one day. I've never seen that ever. Never seen strings of frog eggs in my life. Would love to see that one day. That would really be sick. That would really blow my mind. But yeah, we do have a few tadpoles in here. That's why I love to look at the water. Sometimes I like to stare at it, try to find if I could find things, but yeah, love to see this stuff. But yeah, I see little snails in here. Yeah, little aquatic snails. I really don't know the species of those, to be honest with you. Definitely not very fluent in the kingdom mollusca, the mollusks. But I know I pointed out this tree before. Every time I come down here, the silk oak, Grevillea robusta. This is in bloom now. Now we're in mid to late spring. Look at that. It's in bloom now. Ooh, better watch out. Fall head first in the water. Yeah, look at that. Grevillea robusta. It's called the silk oak. Not a true oak. Not even related to the oak beyond being a plant. But it's in the Proteaceae. Protea family plants have flower inflorescences that are like this a lot. But yeah, bloom. Grevillea robusta in bloom. These plants don't have showy petals, but it's the stamens and stuff like that, the little appendages sticking out. That's what makes the color so brilliant. Not the petals, but that right there. The Proteaceae is a pretty well represented family of ornamental plants here in San Diego and county. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cross this and get you on another clip. All right, so normally this is your trail, but I'm gonna go up this wash a little bit and see what I could find over here. Here's a deeper pool of water here. Probably have some fish in it, maybe. Tadpoles too. Yeah, there are definitely tadpoles in here. Yeah, I can see I can see a tadpole right in the water there. If there's one, there are probably more of them. Let's see if I can get down here a little bit and see a little more closely at hand what's going on over here. Wow, yeah. Yeah, I can see some tadpoles. Tadpoles kind of have rounded heads and skinny tails that look like fins. But I could definitely, and they definitely have a wiggle when they swim around. So I'm assuming, and this is just an assumption, that these are Baja chorus frog tadpoles. That's going to be my assumption. And they're usually dark body. They're usually really dark blackish. Again, rounded head and long, tail. Kind of similar to a fish a little bit, but well, they'll metamorphose, so they'll start developing hind legs, then front legs, and eventually they'll be able to come out of the water and have some more terrestrial action. But I don't know if you'll be able to see it too well. There's a tadpole, there are a few tadpoles down here. Again, I'm assuming these are probably Baja horse frog tadpoles. I think the tadpoles of the spadefoot toad are a little lighter in color, I believe. That would be cool to see a spadefoot toad. I've seen western toad tadpoles up at Waterman Mountain in the Angeles National Forest. They have a ski reservoir pond by the ski area on Waterman Mountain, and that area is a western toad breeding pool. I would know because I saw the juvenile toads hopping out of the water with tons of tadpoles. I'll have to re-upload. I have that as a part of a video set when I used to do my videos in parts. So maybe I can refine that video and re-edit it and maybe do a separate clip for just the tadpoles. So I'm just going to follow this a short distance and try to see what I can find. See if I can maybe find maybe I could find the parents somewhere. Some of the parents of these tadpoles if I get lucky. Usually the frogs that do these are usually not as conspicuous after March. Usually after March or early April, not going to see them as much. All right, well, I'm just going to keep walking up. I'm going to walk up just until basically where the willows are, and then probably go back to the main trail. Okay. Here's a deeper pool right here. I love when the pools get deeper. That's when you're more likely to see tadpoles or frogs. That's where you're more likely to see the action, the more action-packed, juicy stuff. Ooh, try not to step into it. I see a young mosquito fish, some aquatic snails. Okay, it's a little more open over here. Okay. Okay. I think this is umbrella sedge. This is not, I don't think this is a native. I think this is umbrella sedge. Kind of looks like papyrus plant. And papyrus plant is a sedge. It's in the genus Cyperus. Cool. Got dragonflies around here. It's gonna get closed off over there. So that probably will be the end of my side trip here. Just had to check this out. Very beautiful here. Wow, yeah, this is a cool little side trip here. Glad I kind of took the little wash over here. Got cattails popping up here now. Oh no, this is a type of a rush. This is definitely not a cattail. This is a type of a rush. Interesting. They look like cattails. So you can tell I do have a learning curve. And we got a Verbenaceae plant here. I don't know if this is something different here. I think it's a Verbenaceae. It's got purplish flowers. Field guide time. Catch you on the next clip. So yeah, dug out that field guide. And I suspected this was a Verbenaceae. Yeah, this is mint leaf vervain. This is Verbena menthifolia. That is the first time I've ever seen mint leaf vervain. I've seen the other vervain, the western vervain, Verbena lasiostachys variety lasiostachys. I've seen that one many times. But this is the first time I've ever noticed mint leaf vervain, which is pretty similar. It's a closely related plant in the genus Verbena. But it's another perennial herbaceous plant that grows near wet areas. And wet area. So yeah, it looks like we have Verbena menthifolia, mint leaf vervain. This would be a first sighting for me. It's got these pale purplish flowers that are very similar to Verbena lasiostachys variety lasiostachys. But yeah, it looks like we got the mint leaf species here too. So, okay, looks like we just leveled up. And of course, it was too soon for me to get it on camera. I heard the shrill calls of a couple of red-tailed hawks that were just flying probably about 300 feet above the canyon. There were a couple of them like flying around each other. Of course, yeah, they were red-tailed hawks. They make that type of call. Make a really loud screechy call. Screechy sounding call. That's the red-tailed hawk. I can't do the screech and the tone of it, like it's like when they're flying over the hills. The one that has a multi screechy quality would be the red-shouldered hawk. It goes. If you hear that, that's a red-shouldered hawk. When it goes like a real screechy, it's the type that you hear on the movies when you're out in the middle of the wilderness and you hear the hawk calling. The real screechy, single screechy sound would be the red-tailed hawk, a close relative, of course, of the red-shouldered hawk. Yeah, we got tadpoles in here too. Right here, if you see some specks on the camera, it's mostly tadpoles. There are a couple of aquatic snails in there too. But we got a few tadpoles actually hanging around here. Look like they're feeding off the algae, which is really cool. Again, I'm assuming these are probably Baja coarse frog tadpoles. And we do have some mosquito fish in here as well. I imagine the mosquito fish probably would predate on the younger tadpoles. So I think that's one reason why they consider the mosquito fish. I assume that they predate on tadpoles, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I think that's why they might consider them overly invasive too. So yeah, if you ever hear a loud up way above you, above you when you're hiking, that's going to be your red-shouldered hawk, Buteo lineatus. If you hear the type of screechy call, that's the red-shouldered hawk. I mean, red-tailed hawk. So if you hear that kind of screech, that's the red-tailed hawk, Buteo jamaicensis. The one that I think is popularized in Hollywood films. Yeah, that would be the red-tailed hawk making that big, loud, singular, shrieky screech in the air. I think that's the one they usually use on Hollywood movies when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're alone in the wilderness. So yeah, just a little trivia. And the ribbit sounds you hear on Hollywood movies in the background, no matter where it's filmed, no matter where it's supposed to take place, that is the Baja, and maybe further up north, the Pacific chorus frog, making its ribbit sounds to make it sound like you're out in the middle of nature. So, just a little trivia. Since a lot of stuff is filmed down here in Southern California, even though it's supposed to take place in places like Oregon or Minnesota or whatever, you'll hear the same things croaking in the background. It's because it was filmed here, or at least the sounds were, to make it sound like you're in the middle of nature. Now, one thing is I do watch some TV shows, and I'm always, being a person who likes to be in tune with the scenery, I'm thinking that it's supposed to take place here, it's supposed to take place there. So I'm watching a show. It says it takes place in, say it takes place in North Carolina, or, no, let's see, no, a little more dramatic. It's supposed to take place in West Virginia. So they pretend it's a movie that takes place in West Virginia. So I'm watching the movie. Of course, they try to use the element of suspension of disbelief, which is the element where you get yourself to accept the fact that this is where it takes place, or this is what's happening. That's a suspension of disbelief in film and performance. Well, I'm watching a movie that takes place in West Virginia, and then as I'm watching the movie, I'm looking at the scenery, thinking, okay, there are a lot of trees on the side of the road. Say it takes place on a road. So we're driving down there, you see the people going down the road. Say, oh yeah, it's pretty lush, a lot of trees. But then your eye looks up to the side of the view, and the hillside is covered in chaparral or coastal sage scrub. And then you see, off in the distance, you see a planted row of eucalyptus trees. When I see those movies, I think to myself, this was probably filmed in LA or San Diego County. And it usually is. See, for me, being in tune, especially with the natural and planted landscape of Southern California, I'm able to tell that, hey, this was actually filmed probably in LA or San Diego or whatever, because of the fact that these trees, you're not going to find them. You're not going to find a Eucalyptus cladocalyx in West Virginia. Way too cold for them. Way too cold for sugar gum eucalyptus. You're not going to find it like that. You ain't got it like that. So that's what kind of sometimes gets my head turning, kind of ruins my suspension of disbelief when I'm watching movies and shows. Like, I know that this was filmed in Southern California. I could tell by the landscape. And I've even watched an episode of Seinfeld where they were in New York, but they were driving down a New York a freeway on Long Island. They're driving down a freeway on Long Island, and I looking at all the elements in the screen to see if I can ruin my suspension of disbelief. And I look up on the side of the freeway. You can see some Mexican fan palms coming into view a couple times. I say, "Oh yeah, this ain't New York, buddy." So me being in tune with nature and natural surroundings, and so yeah, sorry that last clip cut out. I was trying to scroll through the shot to try to get back to where I was talking about, but I kept on pressing the wrong button, and it just kept going back to the beginning. So, suspension of disbelief. But I was talking about suspension of disbelief, watching videos and watching movies, and it's supposed to take place in some place like West Virginia or even North Dakota, and then you see coastal Southern California landscape trees like eucalyptus trees or coast live oaks. I see coast live oaks, and I go, yeah, this is not Minnesota. Coast live oaks would not make it in Minnesota. Way too gosh darn cold. So, and then I don't know if I was already talking about the Seinfeld episode I was watching, where Jerry and Kramer were rolling down the freeway on one of the Long Island freeways, and I'm scanning around, because I guess I'm pretty observant with this kind of stuff. Kind of scanning my eyes around, looking to see the types of plants and trees on the side of the freeway. And on the hill above the freeway, I could see Mexican fan palms, Washingtonia robusta. Like, yeah, this is not New York. So that was kind of the point I was making. Again, not sure how far I got on that. and I'm not gonna rewind it a third time to try to figure it out. So that's just kind of what I was talking about: suspension of disbelief in film and theater and stuff like that. All right, so we're past the Chinese elm. I always see this Chinese elm every time I come here. Almost parvifolia. Not seeing quite as much water as I'm going down this part of the wash. But yeah, a lot of these lemonade berries died off over here. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know what's going on here. I notice a lot of dead lemonade berries. That's what these are, lemonade sumacs. Kind of sad. Notice a fair amount of them here. Of course, there's a lot more of this hollyleaf cherry. A lot of Prunus ilicifolia, subspecies ilicifolia. And this stretch of canyons where I kind of started my spotlight video last July. I recorded my spotlight video. I recorded it in portions of this canyon from here up towards near before you start hiking up towards Taft Middle School, towards Gramercy Road. So yeah, this is kind of where I was filming that spotlight video last July. I got a huge spiny redberry over here. I'm gonna take this little side wash here. That's a big one here. This is a pretty big Rhamnus crocea. Yeah, this is a big one. That's one of the larger ones I've seen. Gosh. Wow, what a beauty. Still pretty. Of course, so it's a little bit raised up here. But it's still definitely well taller than I am. It's raised up about 2.5 feet on the embankment here. This is a nice specimen. It's a very beautiful, large one. Very healthy. I don't see any fruit developing on it. We're kind of getting past the flowering season of Rhamnus crocea, going more into the fruiting season. So it doesn't seem to have a lot of fruit on this. Might not be a bumper year for this one. I keep hearing California quail calling. So yeah, let's see what else we got up here. A lot of this Hottentot or sea fig. This looks like Carpobrodus edulis, I believe. We've got an olive tree here. It's getting flower buds on it. You see a lot of these random olive trees in these canyons. Yeah, we're getting flower buds. They're not quite opening yet. I thought I saw one in Terrasana that was opening up earlier this morning. Yeah, it's got flower buds on it. Wow. A beautiful little olive tree. Again, these are not olive trees are not native here to Southern California. They're from the Mediterranean areas. But I wouldn't say they're extremely invasive, but I've been noticing a lot more of them popping up over the recent decade or so. Yeah. And right next to it is very much a native blue elder blooming. Well, looks like we earlier on last month we had April showers, so we're getting May flowers. That's for sure. That's for sure. Shirton. That's for sure. Oh, I just caught a whiff of this patch of black sage right here. Oh yeah, what a great fragrance. There's a patch of black sage right in here, and then some beautiful lemonade berries. Here's another lemonade berry that died off. I don't honestly know what is causing this. I might have to do a little research on that to see if I can figure out what the deal is. It's kind of disturbing because there's a lot of it around here that looks like that. I won't say it's a widespread, humongous stand destroying die-off, but it's definitely on the worrying side. Yeah, here's the hollyleaf cherry. I started my spotlight video last July. This is the first one here. It's blooming now. Very beautiful. Yeah, I'm glad I was able to take you guys down here during the springtime before it gets too dry. So I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow this all the way towards the end, like I normally do when I come here. So let's see. All right, see you on the next clip. All right, barely a couple steps past my last clip. I just noticed something humongous over there. The last picture, right there, right where my finger's pointing. It looks like a massive hollyleaf cherry right there in the center. Right there. I can tell it's a hollyleaf cherry by the cream color of where the blossoms are on the shrub. That must be a massive hollyleaf cherry. Yeah. There's a lot of hollyleaf cherry in this canyon. That's one thing I love about this canyon is the amount of hollyleaf cherry. Now, okay, what do we have here? I'm assuming this is a broombaccharis. Yeah. Look at this massive broombaccharis right here. This one's a big broombaccharis. Very well developed, densely packed shrub. Wow. Very large, widespread, large based. I've seen them with larger stems than this before, but this is just a massive thicket of biomass that is just absolutely beautiful. This is an awesome broombaccharis right here. Baccharis saurothroides. They get very large here in San Diego County. These things can get very large. And until I moved back here to San Diego County, I really didn't realize how truly large that broombaccharis can get until moving back here and seeing them more regularly. When I was a kid, early mid-90s, when I was like in my preteen years, like around 94, I knew some of our native plants. Lemonade berry, or lemonade sumac is what I first learned it as. Laurel sumac, Fremont cottonwood, back then we used to call it Mexican elderberry. Some people still do. But I didn't really know about a lot of the other ones like broombaccharis, mule fat. I didn't really know those at the time. Moving back really puts how large they can get into perspective, because sometimes they get humongous in these washes. Oh yeah, this little wash cut right here, this little erosion cut. Gosh, this place is beautiful. This is an incredible canyon. There's so much to see, experience. So much to love. Prickly pear regenerating itself. A piece of the pad breaks off. So that piece of the pad that broke off, instead of just drying up and dying, why not just take root in the soil and become another individual plant? Sounds cool? Alright, I'm going to go buy a little buddy of mine. A little Fremont cottonwood I always see when I come here. So I'll see you over there by the Fremont cottonwood, just up ahead. Well, here I am, right by my little Fremont cottonwood buddies. Like two of them here. Populus fremontii, subspecies fremontii. There's barely any movement in the air, and you can see a little bit of the quaking action on these leaves. The reason why these leaves are so easily stirred, even in nearly completely still conditions, is these flattened petioles, or leaf stalks. These flattened petioles allow just the gentlest of air movement to sometimes get them to flutter quite vibrantly. Yep. Yeah, Fremont cottonwood is one pretty cool plant. From coast to over 6,000 feet in the mountains, all the way in the desert southwest. Populus fremonti, subspecies fremonti. Not extremely common in this canyon per se, but we do get a couple. And right here along the little wash trail, if you want a little shade, here you go. You got a little Fremont cottonwood patch here you can hang out and enjoy. There's another one up ahead, not that far down. But yeah, the very pliant and flattened nature of the leaf stalks or petioles allows them to flutter. Now, I've been trying to grow some Fremont cottonwood this year. I took a couple cuttings in early March before the trees started budding and leafing out, and was able to get most of them to take root in the water. Some of them are struggling, and a couple of them are hanging on pretty well. I've never grown Fremont cottonwood. I've grown willows, grown a few species of willows. Poplars, cottonwoods, and willows are all related. They're all in the willow family. And a lot of times you can just cut dormant twigs off when they're dormant in the wintertime, when they're leafless and the buds are still asleep before they start swelling and opening up. And a lot of times they'll take root in water. And that's been my experience on several occasions with, I've done that with arroyo willow, I've done it with Gooding's black willow, I've done it with arroyo willow, Gooding's black willow. I've done it with weeping willow, the non-native ornamental tree. I've done it with black cottonwood, which is a native of Southern California. I've done it with black poplar, the regular black poplar, and the Lombardy poplar horticultural variant. But I've never done Fremont cottonwood till this year. I've taken cuttings once before, and I took them after the buds were opening up, and they didn't do anything. So I've kept vowing that I'll get some Fremont cottonwood cuttings early before the buds even started swelling. And I managed to get several twigs just from a tree in a park. I don't go collecting them from wildlands like that, but I got some from a tree in a park that had some twigs that were low enough so I could just cleanly snip them off. And being respectful, I thanked the tree for the cuttings. And I have a few Fremont cottonwoods at home that are in a planter. Where I live, I really don't have room to plant them out and let them become full trees, but so that was the first bit of horticultural gardening I've done since moving here. I haven't really been focusing on my gardening. You might have seen some videos from years back where I would talk about my native plant gardens. I never had a place to actually plant them out in the ground, which is disappointing. But did have a nice little collection of natives. But finally got some Fremont cottonwoods going in a planter, so they'll be able to get a little bit larger. But kind of hoping that they're going to start taking. Some of them are really struggling. Probably should have let the roots grow a little bit longer. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll wait till the roots form massive tangles of roots in the water before I plant them out. But I had the cuttings indoors, and I was thinking to myself, nah, they're just not gonna make it if I leave them indoors. So I finally put them outside for a couple days, and then I started planting most of them out. Some of them, the new leaves died already on them. Some of them are starting to open up new leaves, and some of the ones that have stronger roots and stronger new growth seem to be maintaining. So keeping my fingers crossed that I still have some cottonwoods by the end of this year. I missed the other cottonwood tree. There was another cottonwood tree on this side of the trail. I missed it. Oh well. Always admired our Fremont cottonwoods. And as a little side note, if you don't already know, the quaking aspen, Populus tremuloides, the quaking aspen, which is a tree that's widespread through North America, only found in a couple small spots here in Southern California. my uncle used to live up in the San Bernardino Mountains a couple decades ago, and I'd go up to visit him periodically. He lived in a community called Running Springs, and where his house was about 6,300 feet up on the upper part of Running Springs. And he took me to a nursery one day back in the mid-90s when I was like 13 years old, and he bought me a quaking aspen. He had quaking aspens at the nursery he took me to visit. So I had a quaking aspen, and that's when I was living in Orange County, and I was going between 7th and 8th grade, the summer of after my 7th, before my 8th grade year. So I had a quaking aspen. Yeah, actually I had a quaking aspen. It did not do very well. Not in Anaheim. This is where I was living, in the city of Anaheim. City of Disneyland. It didn't do very well. I had it for maybe a couple years before it eventually gave out. But it's kind of interesting. You know, I'm telling a lot of stories and stuff today, but I just kind of enjoy reminiscing on old memories while making new memories. But yes, I've had a good few different species of poplars under my care. Pretty interesting. So we're just about at the end of the main canyon before it ends up in a residential area. I gotta duck under this. Oh, this might be my turning point here, actually. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to duck under this. I don't think my back is feeling it today. Ooh, some mule fat flower heads. Bacris salicifolia, subspecies salicifolia. Beautiful. All right, well, I'm gonna take a picture or two and start working my way back. I'm almost at the very end of this canyon anyways. Just a few more feet up that way is, it's near the street called Pompey Lane, but it's like a few feet away from. So yeah, I'm starting my way back. I kind of stopped. I could probably gone probably another 200 feet or so, but I kind of didn't feel like ducking that low underneath the willow branch, so I figured that would just be a good enough turnaround. So here we are. So I know there's supposed to be a dog park uphill above us here, like a private dog park. I think there's a private community up there. So I noticed that it's extremely luscious over here. So I think what happens is some of the irrigation from the park, I'm assuming it's irrigated, probably leaches down the hill. So there's a lot of green plant growth growing up just uphill from here. There's a lot of mule fat that loves growing near seep areas. Also does have some drought tolerance too, but when it's growing this lusciously, you know there's got to be some kind of water source. Yeah, this is Bacris salicifolia, subspecies salicifolia. Very common in washes and arroyos. Or an arroyo is just another name for a wash. And then a non-native plant that does get established down here sometimes is the Pride of Madeira. This is Echium candicans. And I think we're just past the peak of bloom, but they still have some very beautiful bluish flowers. These are related to yerba santas. They're kind of related to yerba santas and borages and water leaves. I think they're still classified as being in the Boraginaceae, but I heard that that group is being split. Some people are splitting them up again. They used to be Hydrophyllaceae, Nemaceae, and Boraginaceae all slammed together, but I think some people are starting to split them back. Because yerba santas in the genus Eridiction, I'm seeing them listed now as Nemaceae, the Nama family. And so I'm not sure what relation those are to yerba santas, how closely related they are. But yeah, there's a dog park. You can tell it's just a velvet green covering. So it must be a good, well irrigated park up there. And it seeps down because there's a lot of, it looks like a lot of alkali heliotrope. I think that's all alkali heliotrope. Heliotropium Curasavicum variety oculatum, which is a plant that I do occasionally find down here in the wash, scattered here and about. But up on there, where it seems to be wetter, it seems to be much more prevalent, covering almost the entire hillside. I think that's what that is. Can't get close enough to see it, and I'm not going to try to scramble up that. But, and then here we are, willows again. This time, Gooding's black willow. All over here. Sometimes these can get pretty large. I've seen a few large ones. If you ever hike in Mission Trails in the just west of North Fortuna Mountain, there's a small pond called Shepherd Pond. If you ever hike past it, you'll see a few huge Gooding black willows. Let's see if this part's open over here. This part might not be open. Let's see. Well, I don't see a closed sign. Usually they're pretty good about posting areas that are closed. It looks like it's going to become a real bushwhack up ahead, so I'm not really interested in doing that kind of stuff today. But, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, Shepherd Pond, there's a Shepherd Pond loop trail in Mission Trails, and it's a very, very neat hike. And you're going to catch some large, much larger than these. These are more like moderate-sized specimens here. There are some very large ones in the area. I gotta see where the trail goes. I'm kind of missing out here, I think. Okay, so yeah, some of this wash is pretty overgrown. So as long as you're gonna have to look around to find your route back. Every now and then, you kind of got to pay attention where you're going here in Ruffin Canyon, because sometimes areas can get overgrown, and an area that you pass through just fine on the way back might look like it's cordoned off, even though it wasn't, just because of the juxtaposition of the foliage. I think there used to be a way to go through this pass over here, but I'm assuming it's probably closed off, because one day I wanted to go up that way and try to go up towards another portion of the canyon, but I'm pretty sure that area is closed off, because I don't think there's been a really usable trail to get over there for some time. Looked at Google Earth and I've seen what looks like a trail going up that side. However, I think over the last few years of rainfall have made it pretty ill evident, if even noticeable at all. I'd suspect around here would be a way of getting towards it. Let me see. Let's see. Let me just follow it for a few minutes to see what happens. Prickly pear looks like it got flattened in the flood. Yeah, it looks like you can tell this area flooded. You can tell the way a lot of this stuff is all flattened on the ground. Let's see. Used to be oh yeah, there was another cottonwood tree. It's just over there. It's very rocky here, so just watch your step. Okay, I'm gonna have to bushwhack through some mule fat. Make sure there's no poison oak over here. I don't really feel like bushwhacking. It's probably not a trail anyways. Sometimes if the washes are open enough, you can kind of poke around and find some ways. But I don't think there's a way to get to the suburban streets up there. Some of that up that way might actually be private property. Because I've looked at Google Earth imagery and it's what it kind of looks like. Because I've looked at some of the the little cul-de-sacs up there on the top of the mesa, and it looked like they were private property signs, so you might not even be able to go that way anyways. But I think there is a trail system, an older trail system that's supposed to go up that way. But again, I don't know how far you can go before you get caught in private property. So, all right, I'm gonna keep working my way back, and I'll see you on the way for a few more updates. Check this out for a minute. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, this does lead to another Fremont cottonwood. Princess. Oh, somebody's pet. Must be buried here, so I'm gonna kind of keep a few feet away so I'm not stepping on the actual gravesite. So somebody might have buried a pet here. 1977 to 1990. I'm assuming that's a dog. I'm assuming those are dog tags. Wow. Well, hopefully Princess is at peace. I was like, that was 34 years ago. That's a long time. Yeah, when it comes to seeing graves and stuff like that, I try to respectfully keep my distance out of respect. I don't care if it's an animal or person or whatever. I try to be respectful about stuff like that. Oh yeah, so I remember this little Fremont cottonwood. I came here one time. Here it is. This seems to be a little bit more of a followable wash, but I'm gonna go hang out by this cottonwood tree. Oh, somebody built a duck. Yeah, the cicadas are starting to come back. When the weather gets even a little bit warmer, it's gonna become much more noticeable. But yeah, here's another little oasis of shade here, courtesy of another Populus Fremontii. Beautiful Fremont cottonwood tree, shading this little wash area. Beautiful little tree. I've been by this tree before. Definitely, since this canyon is definitely drier than a lot of our other canyons, they're not going to get as large here. That's why you don't see them towering way above you. But small or large, always a pleasurable sight to see a beautiful native Fremont cottonwood. So I'm just going to follow this a short distance and see. Just check this out for a little while. It doesn't seem to be closed off, so that might not be an issue today. Okay, I think this is the actual other side. This is definitely going to be worth exploring, so I can at least get some hiking miles in today as well. Let's see how far I can go up this before it becomes overgrown or cordoned off or whatever. I've never been up this way, so for people who've seen my other Ruffin Canyon clips and videos, this is new territory here. This looks really nice. Wow, it's really pretty cool. Let's see how far I can go up this. Very rocky over here, so if you go up this way, just kind of mind your step. Ooh, a small white sage. Or this could be intermediate white black sage. You see if there's an intermediacy in the fragrance. It's more white sage smelling. A lot of times it'll be intermediate when they're hybridized. Oh. So I wonder if this is, I think this might be Sandrock Canyon. This might be what this is called. I think this leads up towards Sandrock Avenue, but don't quote me. I've never been up this way before. I'm going to follow this for a little bit and see. just want to feel like exploring a little bit. Oh, that breeze feels absolutely heavenly. Brazilian pepper tree. We get established down in these canyons quite often, actually. Tecolote Canyon, these things get established all over Tecolote Canyon. Wow, this is gorgeous. This is beautiful. I'm just gonna keep following this for a while, see what happens. Yep, it's looking like this is gonna be a long video, so be prepared. Or it probably already is as of this point of the video, so bear with me. But exploring this place in the spring is a whole different vibe. It's a good vibe. It's just even different. It's an even different good vibe because of all the blooms. Oh yeah. Oh, some more cottonwood over here too. Oh yeah, there's some more Fremont cottonwood over here too. A little sprig of it here too. That's awesome. So we're officially in the side canyon now. We're in the side canyon. That's the main Ruffin Canyon over there. This could be called Sandrock Canyon, which is a slightly smaller side canyon. Okay, here we go. Another cottonwood tree, or thicket. Probably a root sprout from this one that's struggling. Some very luscious lemonade berry stands here on the side of the hill. Very thick, dense stands of them. On both sides, actually. All right. This is absolutely insanely beautiful here. Cannot stress it. The clips are long, and this video is going to be very long. Apologize in advance if my extra long clips or extra long videos are not your cup of tea. There's a lot to show. I like to show it off. All right, well, I'm going to keep walking up this and keep you posted on my progress. Looks like I've unlocked another little awesome place. Just found a really tall hollyleaf cherry. I'm gonna try to see if I can get over towards it without going way off the path here. There's a really big hollyleaf cherry over here. Gotta make sure that's not a Catalina cherry. Catalina cherry is a subspecies of hollyleaf cherry, but typically larger, more tree-sized. Try not to go too far off the beaten path over here. Yeah. No, this is a Catalina cherry. So, this is hollyleaf cherry's close cousin. This is Catalina cherry. So you saw the hollyleaf cherries on my previous clips. So we actually have Catalina cherry here in the canyon as well. At least I believe this is Catalina cherry. The leaves are a lot larger than on the typical hollyleaf cherry. So this might be intermediate, but the larger leaf size is definitely a little closer to what I expect on Prunus ilicifolia lyonii, and the taller size, of course. But this is a subspecies of hollyleaf cherry, so I believe this is Prunus ilicifolia. This might still be Prunus ilicifolia, but you notice the leaves aren't as wrinkly. You see my spotlight video and other videos where I talk about hollyleaf cherry. Hollyleaf cherry leaves are usually wavy edged and a lot spinier tipped. This one right here is less wavy and a little bit closer to what I expect on Prunus ilicifolia lyonii, the Catalina cherry, which again is a subspecies of hollyleaf cherry. And the more arborescent architecture of this, in other words, the more tree-like shape and more upright style of this is definitely a lot more akin to what you would expect on the Catalina subspecies. But this could still be regular hollyleaf cherry, or it could actually be intermediate, because the two are very closely related. They're subspecies of the same species, so that means they're very closely related. But this is what I would expect more on Catalina cherry. Taller size, more upright, sometimes more of an actual tree than a shrub sometimes. But yeah, so this could potentially be lyonii as well. But right now, not 100%, because sometimes the line is fine kind of between the hollyleaf and the Catalina cherry. But I saw this from a distance thinking, that's a pretty big hollyleaf cherry. And as I was getting closer, I was thinking, could this possibly be a Catalina cherry? And I think that might be what this is. And these leaves are definitely a bit larger. Catalina cherry leaves are definitely larger, usually larger, and sometimes don't even have teeth on the edge of the leaves. These ones do. So this one's more intermediate in the size of the foliage between the Catalina cherry and the hollyleaf cherry. So I'm not gonna go and say full blown this is a Catalina cherry, but I believe that this is. They do occasionally pop up in coastal canyons of San Diego County. They do pop up sometimes. And I've seen them planted with hollyleaf cherries over at Tecolote Canyon's little nature center, which is only a few miles from here actually. But yeah, and this one's well in bloom too. You know, it's a beautiful creamish racemes of flowers. Catalina cherries generally have larger cherries on them. They are true cherries, genus Prunus. They are true cherries. Their fruits are a little bit larger, a little bit more flesh. I've never actually eaten a Catalina cherry. I've eaten a hollyleaf cherry. Sometimes if I'm hiking in late summer, early fall, every now and then I'll pop one off, eat the flesh, and then spit the seed back out in the soil so Mother Nature can take care of the rest. But yeah, I think this actually appears more like a Prunus ilicifolia lyonii. I'm gonna go with Catalina cherry on this one with the larger leaf size. But I've seen Catalina cherries with even significantly larger leaves than these. The Catalina cherry is more of a Channel Island subspecies of the hollyleaf cherry that's mostly found on Santa Catalina Island and can possibly get up to 30-40 feet in height. The regular hollyleaf cherry usually doesn't get up to much more than 15-20 feet tall. But I've seen some Catalina cherries in Orange County and LA County that had larger leaves than these and even taller stature that were actually trees more than shrubs. This one's kind of in between the tree and shrub look. But yeah, I can tell, yeah, it's got larger trunks. The bark should be pretty much the same. Again, it's a subspecies of hollyleaf cherry. This was definitely much more upright, less widespread like you'd expect on a regular Prunus ilicifolia. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I wonder if this one's going to get cherries on it. I'll have to come back and check this out again. That is really awesome. I was wondering when I was going to find another likely cherry relative, or should I say Catalina cherry. That is cool. I knew I was going to find a way to get to it. Something told me I was going to find my way to get to it. That is so cool. Definitely larger trunks and more upright. That's got to be a Prunus ilicifolia subspecies lyonii. Now, like I said, they're mostly native to Catalina Island, Santa Catalina Island. They do occasionally pop up as waifs and naturalized, and sometimes they're natural. So they kind of walk the line between being native and naturalized, because they do occasionally occur on the mainland. Like I said, I've seen them in Powder Canyon near Hacienda Heights in southern LA County. I've seen them a couple times in Orange County. and a few times here in San Diego County as well. So, yeah, looks like we got. That definitely looks more like a Catalina cherry than a regular holly leaf. Okay, now I'm really glad I took this side trip. I was just getting ready to head back, but something told me I should persist. And boy, am I glad I persisted now. Pretty cool. I'm hoping to get a spotlight video on Catalina cherry this year as well. All right, so we're about ready to hit a fork in the canyon. I'm gonna have to take a look and see which way I'm gonna go. Coming up soon. So we'll see. Okay, looks like this is gonna actually be my turnaround point here. So I do see a no trespassing sign, so going any further, I'm not gonna risk it. But glad I made it a nice little way up this wash. I mean, it might be more for up that way, but I'm not gonna take a chance. So there was no close sign on the way up here, so I'm gonna take that as a sign that maybe this will be my turnaround point. So yeah, really cool. All right. Oh, this canyon here is absolutely gorgeous. This is a beautiful place. Glad I got to see that Catalina cherry. I'm sticking with the Catalina cherry. So I guess we got both subspecies here. Again, it might be somewhat intermediate between them. Sometimes I've seen what look like regular holly leaf cherries that have some intermediate characteristics in them as well. Now here we go. So in the last clip, I was yammering on about the Catalina cherry. Well, here's the regular holly leaf cherry for comparison. Notice how much smaller the leaves are, and notice how much wavier they are. They're much wavier in profile than your Catalina cherry. So this is the regular Prunus ilicifolia subspecies ilicifolia. So 2 clips with 2 comparisons and contrasts. What a beauty. I love holly leaf cherry. It's such an amazing shrub. I love seeing both subspecies in the same area. That just pumps my juices up. And there's a old growth blue elder back here. I didn't realize until now how large that trunk is. That is huge. It's got a huge trunk on it. That is a massive trunk. Actually, two large trunks. Sambucus nigris cerulean. The flowers do have a slight fragrance to them. Not very strong, but very slight sweet aroma. So yeah, now I got to see one clip with a holly leaf cherry, and the previous clip with its Catalina cherry brother. Ooh, and bricklebush, Brickelia californica. Got some bricklebush here too. Okay. Wow, what a massive old elderberry. I love how old some of these trunks get on some of these blue elderberries here. But yeah, once you start getting towards that fork, it looks like it might be private land over there. So, or at least on the hillside. But I'm not taking a chance. I'm not taking a chance at that today. I'm gonna go start following this back. So yeah, we got holly leaf and Catalina cherry in the same canyon. It does happen sometimes. So when I see it, it just gives me a reason, just another thing to appreciate about these canyons here. I love these coastal canyons. I love them so much. Ooh, before I leave this clip, looks like we got chaparral prickly pear, Opuntia auricola. Usually that's one of the ones I can tell from the other ones. Coast, western, and mesa prickly pears are 3 very closely related prickly pears that are very hard to tell apart, especially the Western Mesa prickly pears. Coast prickly pear, usually I can tell apart if I examine the spines. Speaking of cactus, we're starting to get some blooms here. Coast cholla. Look at that. Starting to bloom now, here in May. Nice. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep on trudging along. Start heading towards the main trail. Start working my way back. Glad I went at least part way up this wash. This is incredible here. Before I head all the way back off camera, must have been a massive coast cholla that used to probably used to live up here. It might be washed down or something. It's a massive, used to be a coast cholla right here. That thing must have been massive. I just figured I had to bust out the camera on that one. Wow, this is absolutely stupendous out here. It's almost hard to imagine that there are people living just above us. Amazing. I love this part. I love this part of the canyon. This is absolutely luxuriant here. There's a lot of that Ruffin Canyon. Every time I come here, there's always something that blows me away. I'm glad to have come here to visit again, and this time go up a slightly different section. But before I shut down the clip, now we got a nice luxuriant toyon over here too. We got a few toyons actually. We've got a pretty large, older specimen in here. Here's a younger. You can see the root burls. This is why you could almost never keep a toyon or a lot of these other shrubs down for long. That little bulbous thing at the bottom of the stems, that keeps their energy reserves in case they need to resprout after a fire. So we don't have to lose them. They just pop right back up. Okay. A little spiny red berry action over here too. Beautiful toyon sumac shrublands. So if you guys are interested in me talking about specific plant communities, actually making videos dedicated to specific plant communities, I'd be glad to do that, because I think I could make some pretty informative videos about them, so I could spotlight the plant communities as I was talking about in my earlier clips. Actually, I think I'm gonna start investing in that. So I'll be talking about the coastal sage scrub, the chaparral, talk about everything from coastal sage scrub to the subalpine zone where limber and lodgepole pines, bush chinquapin grow high up on Sugarloaf Mountain in the San Bernardino Mountains. So yeah, I'll keep that in mind too. I do have a vacation coming up in early June, and I'm thinking about going over towards the Big Bear area. So if I can get some hikes, some elevation hikes before then, I might be able to hike to some subalpine peaks, maybe to the lower subalpine zone, and maybe get some footage and videos of those too. So I'll keep you posted when my June vacation comes up, but expect some mountain hiking videos in early June. All right, should be back in the main Ruffin Canyon very soon. See you there. Alright, so I am approaching the main trail area, but, however, I'm on the opposite side of where that Fremont Cottonwood was when I first left the main trail, so I am on the opposite side now. So let's see if I can work my way back to the actual trail on the other side of a cottonwood tree. Just the rest of the time walking back between cliffs, just sitting here admiring this canyon, just admiring this little side canyon too. Yeah, it's just beautiful here. Yeah, this side canyon, I think it might be called Sandrock Canyon. Don't quote me on that, but I think that might be what it is. All right, let's see if I can get through this. Make sure there's no poison oak in the way. I don't think I see any. So I'm just gonna duck under here. And here I am. Should be back out by the main wash. Yeah, a lot of meal fat here. Adds another characteristic aroma, kind of similar to creosote bush. It can be a very strong smelling plant. But, all right, so I'm just about back at the main wash in Ruffin Canyon. This little side canyon. I don't know if I'm allowed to go any further. The slope above it might have been private property, but I wasn't going to take that chance. So, all right, well, I'll be back at the main wash momentarily, and well on my way back to the end there. Okay, so right here is where I rejoin the wash. I remember this little pile of flood debris here. So I'm just going to turn left, start heading back up canyon, just head towards Taft Middle School. So I got to see another piece of this canyon I didn't get to see before, or this canyon system. Yeah, so yeah, you can access it. I just don't know how far up you're allowed to truly go before you run the risk of trespassing. That's where I left. This is where I went. And then I came back through there. So, and I'm going to start working my way back up the canyon. Some more Goodings willows keeping us company here. Oh, a California king snake! Just saw a California king snake. Just saw it. And it wasn't the banded one, it was the one with the stripe on the back. It went down in there. I don't know if any of it got on video. Oh wow. Oh wow. All right. I was wondering when I was going to start seeing snakes. Well, got to see one. All right. I doubt it got on camera. I hope to get at least see a little sliver of it slithering into the shrubbery. I hope so. I've never seen one. That's only the third time I've ever seen a California king snake in the wild. The first time was back in spring of 1994, when I was in 6th grade. I was hiking in a little miniature urban canyon in Claremont behind a church on Claremont Drive, hiking through a grove of eucalyptus trees, and I saw a California king snake slithering past me. It was the banded one with the alternating dark brown or black. Back then, it was over 30 years ago. I think it was, the ones closer to the coast, I think, are dark brown and creamy white banded, as opposed to full black and full white bands. But that one I saw in 1994, and the one I saw at Mission Trails back in 2022 were the banded ones, alternating dark brown, very dark brown, and creamy yellowish white bands. This one had a stripe going up its back. This one was a striped one. I've never seen a striped one. So I hope I got to see at least a little piece of it slithering in the brush. That was the first time I've ever seen one with a stripe on its back. It was a striped version instead of the banded version. That was cool. And usually when I have snake encounters, it's when I'm not even thinking about herps, reptiles and amphibians. When I'm not thinking about snakes or whatever. That's usually when I see snakes. So I'm not even thinking about them. I was thinking about something else, and there it was. So, yeah. Lampropeltis gatula californii. I don't know if the taxonomy's changed on it to just Lampropeltis californii. On iNaturalist, it's listed as Lampropeltis californii, but first ever dorsal striped California king snake. Dark chocolate brown with a creamy yellowish white stripe up its back. I think that might be my first snake of 2024, actually. Yeah, I think it was my first snake of the year. So, I don't think I've ever seen a snake in this canyon until today. I'll take it. I'll take it with incredible happiness. All right, enough yapping and more hiking my way back. I was just thinking about my little king snake encounter. The last time I saw a California king snake was back in late May 2022 when I was at Mission Trails, and I was in the middle of doing an ode video to the Coast Live Oak tree, and in the middle of doing the ode video to Coast Live Oak at Mission Trails, and happened to see a California king snake. So, me also loving herps like I love trees and plants, you know I'm gonna have to take notice of that. Love herps, love reptiles, and love amphibians. So there was no way I was going to ignore that snake just to continue a tree video. I was going to incorporate the snake into the tree video. So it ended up being an ode to Coast Live Oak and a California king snake. So right in the middle of doing an ode video, so I swear, snake sightings and other herp sightings, besides western fence lizards, that are around all the time. Other things that are not quite as commonly seen, like in my opinion, like in my experience, snakes. I don't come across them very often, but it's nearly always when I'm not even thinking about herps. And I think about herps a lot, especially when I'm out hiking, because I want to see them and I want to document them and show everybody our beautiful wildlife here. So it's almost always when I'm thinking about something else. It's when I come across herps, and that's usually why I can't get them very well on camera, because usually they're slithering away as I'm stepping near them. And it kind of bums me out a little bit, because I want to show everybody who watches my videos, I want to show you these beautiful animals. Snakes, and other reptiles, they are such cool animals. And they are such an integral part of our ecosystem. Not only important for the health of the ecosystem, but they're just so darn cool to see while you're out hiking. If you're lucky to see them. I very seldomly come across snakes on my hikes. And you've seen it where I've gone 5, 10, 15 weeks in a row hiking. 5, 10, 15 weeks in a row hiking. And nary a snake sighting. Maybe one here and there. That's how rare it is sometimes. Sometimes to come across these fascinating creatures. So that's another reason why I have my cameras. Try to have my camera ready in case it's time to document some awesomeness. Just add that to another memory of this awesome canyon. California king snake here in Ruffin Canyon. But yeah, so another time I was doing a spotlight video on spiny cucumber up in the Santa Ana Mountains in extreme western Riverside County, or the Elsinore subrange of the Santa Ana Mountains. I was doing a video on spiny cucumber, and there was a big rock outcry up next to where I was doing the video. And of course, at that time, there were a bunch of granite spiny lizards scurrying about. But of course, I was so focused on my plant video, I didn't interrupt it. But now, I will never hesitate to interrupt a plant video if I see some type of herp action. Especially if it's something I don't see very often. I'm sorry if even if I'm in the middle of a well-weighted spotlight video on some extremely rare plant, I'm just going to have to take the time to incorporate whatever herp is there into my video. Yeah. When I see something that I don't see very often, oh yeah, I'm interrupting whatever I'm doing to shed some focus on it. All right, away I go. Give you a break from some yapping for a moment or two. See you up the way. So now we're coming up to a junction. Now I'm not going to go all the way up there this time, but that's the way to get to the Shawn Avenue trailhead. That's the Shawn Avenue trail right there. Last time I was here back in July, I did go up that way. Today, I think that other side trip is more than enough. Now I'm just gonna keep cruising my way back on this beautiful trail here. Yeah, the Shawn Avenue trail, that's a pretty cool little spot too. So if you look at my July 11th. It was July 11th, 2023. I did a video where I hiked all the way to the normal south end of the canyon, like I did this time. But then I went up the Shawn Avenue trail, up to that little street trailhead. That was my last visit here. You can check that out if you want to see what that trail looks like. It's a very beautiful trail too. Lots of very magnificent stands of lemonade berry. Lots and lots. Lemonade berry and laurel sumac that get very large over there. That's a very beautiful trail as well. I am starting to get a little tired. I'm starting to get back on the trail a little bit more regularly, unlike I was in March and early April when I went 4 weeks without hiking, and then last week I didn't go hiking either. So I worked 6 days straight, and then on one of my days off I had to go take my father to an appointment, so I just didn't feel much like going out and stuff, despite the really nice weather last week. But yeah, it's all right. Actually, I think today's weather's even a little bit nicer. There's that silk oak again, Grevillea robusta. Full bloom right now too. What a beautiful tree. Yeah, I love this canyon. This is a very special place. All right, well, let's see. Yeah, definitely seeing a fair amount of tadpoles too. I'd love to come here in a few weeks, maybe about a month or so, and they're starting to metamorphose. Getting their legs. So right now, they look like they're very early in their larval stage. That's what a tadpole is. It's a larva of a frog or a toad. And yeah, they start off with just a round body and a long, skinny tail. That's how they start off, with no legs at all. And then they start developing their hind legs. Their hind legs come first, and then later on they start developing their front limbs. And then they start turning into what looks more like a frog or a toad. They start getting that frog and toad shape. And then that's when they're still in metamorph. And then I think they take their first steps on land before their tail starts at least basically disappearing. Their tail disappears. As their tail's disappearing, they start making their first bids on land before, and then they eventually absorb or lose their tail completely. I don't think it just falls off. If I remember correctly, I think it just disappears back into the body or something. But I've had a few tadpoles when I was a kid that I've gotten them to metamorph into juvenile frogs. Mostly basically all Baja chorus frogs. Except once my mother bought me a bullfrog tadpole at a fish store or a pet store. I didn't have too much luck with that. It didn't last super long, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see regardless. It's fun watching frogs and toads morph from tadpoles into juvenile adult forms. It's very satisfying if you get to experience it. You just have to make sure you apply the proper diet for them. Nice breeze today. I'd say it's in the low 70s, maybe around 71, maybe. Probably no more than 71 or 72 at the most. It's in the very low 70s right now. It's very delightful today. And again, I just keep catching wisps of black sage. There's a bunch of craziness going on in the water over here. There's a big ruckus. I assume it's the mosquito fish flailing about. There was a big ruckus in the water right over here. There's probably a bunch of mosquito fish. Oh, I do see some larger tadpole action too. I do see a larger tadpole over there. Yeah, look at all these little guys. Those are all young mosquito fish. But yeah, I do see some larger tadpoles. So maybe some of them are starting to develop their hind limbs already. What a beautiful place this is. Love this canyon. Yeah, this video is long, I already know it. But you know what? Oh well. I just had to come out here and show the love for this place. Here's that larger pool from earlier. Yeah, some definitely more larger mosquito fish. More towards that side of the pond over there. Kind of keeping away from me a little bit. They are very skittish fish. Probably won't see them very well on camera. Ruffin Canyon. Yeah, I love this canyon. It's not a very small canyon. It's a pretty decent sized canyon. There's a lot to it. You got that little Shawn Avenue side canyon. Then you got that one. I think that goes to Sandrock Avenue. I think that's where it goes. Don't quote me on it. There's a bird in the bushes too. So, all right, start heading up towards Taft Middle School. There's this really large broombaccarus thicket over here. Some very, very stately ones. Some of these might have coyote brush DNA in them. And this one's definitely got some Bacillus piloraris consanguinea DNA in it. This appears more to be a coyote brush, but yeah, coyote brush and broombaccarus are very closely related. and can hybridize easily. I've germinated seeds of broombaccharis before, and some of the resultant seedlings were very much intermediate between coyote brush and broombaccharis. I've also germinated coyote brush. Both species are quite easy to germinate. It doesn't take a lot of effort. You just grab the tufts of seeds off the seed heads, plant them, and you're usually pretty golden, to be honest. And they can be pretty quick growing too, so you don't have to wait long. All right, I'll see you on the next clip. Ooh, look at this beautiful California sagebrush here. Oh, look at that. Oh, I love the smell of this plant so much. It's always been one of my favorite plant smells of all time. You never forget this smell. If you even just gently brush up, you can smell it on you. Especially now that they're leafy after a good rainy season. When they're still leafy like this, all you have to do is just barely brush your hand and you can smell it clearly. It's just one of the most wonderful aromas in the coastal sage scrub and in chaparral, wherever it mixes in with it. Honestly, I like the smell of California sagebrush, or coastal one that I just showed you. I actually like that one even more than the Great Basin sagebrush smell. And that smells good too. I've been to the San Bernardino Mountains near Big Bear after a summer thunderstorm, the morning after a summer thunderstorm wetted the ground, and I had the windows down, and that was an experience. If you ever smell sagebrush after a warm summer rain, that's an experience. But I'm gonna be honest, the smell of the California one, the coastal sagebrush, the California sagebrush, to me, tops it. The smell of Artemisia californica tops it. I'm sorry, I have to be honest. It is one of the best smelling plants I've ever experienced. And I've experienced some incredibly fragrant plants here in Southern California, including, laurel sumac, which gives off a really pungent aroma. All the sages, especially black and white sage, that have a really clean, minty, especially the black sage, got a real minty aroma, minty pungence. And then, of course, another plant, it's very rare here in Southern California. You don't really find it scattered in the Santa Ana Mountains of Orange County and a couple spots in San Diego County, called the San Miguel Savory, which is a relative of the sages and mints. That has a beautiful, sweet, minty aroma. And the Monardellas, another mint family plant, have some great aromas as well. But something about the California sagebrush has always been right at the top of favorite aromas of California native plants. Always love that smell. And I've grown that plant. I've grown that plant from seed before. I don't have any more left now, but the fragrance of that plant is basically addicting. It just gives off a very pleasant, gives me a pleasant, peaceful vibe when I smell it, because it reminds me of all the good times I've had and am having, like today, and will have in the future, being around that plant. It's one of the best smelling plants. If you have seen my videos, you always hear me talking about how I love the smell of it and the fragrance. It's always intoxicating. And you haven't taken time to gently rub it, you're missing out. I'm telling you. It is one of the best smells. I think it's one of my favorite smells, period. It's one of my favorite smells, period. It just smells so good. So, Artemisia californica. Smell that plant, experience it, love it, enjoy it. Oh yeah. A lot of these are non-native plants, but it just looks so lush and green over here. It just looks so luscious. Okay. All right. So now we're basically in a forest of broombaccharis right now. Oh, it's so peaceful over here. Only saw one other person in this canyon today. And I was at the very beginning of the hike. Okay, I'm almost back at the mountain mahoganies. So it means my last task will be to climb up the few switchbacks by the lemonade berry forest, the little lemonade sumac tunnel that I affectionately film every time I'm here. First, before we enter the mountain mahoganies, more hollyleaf cherry in bloom. If you want to see the other plants in bloom, check out my spotlight preview video, where I did a preview spotlight video at Mount Laguna at 6,000 feet. And that's my pre-spotlight video. And here's the San Diego mountain mahogany, the Cercocarpus minutiflorus. Always loved this little patch here. These are some very large, well-endowed specimens. That's why I did my spotlight video here. And yep, there's a huge toyon over there. Nice, big, beautiful toyon. I think there's a huge spiny redberry up there too. All right, so this is where I'm going to start climbing out of the canyon. I'm going to start gaining most of my elevation of today going through this. Oh yeah, here we go. Golden yarrow. Monkey flower. And San Diego bush sunflower. Ooh, narrowleaf bedstraw. All right. Time to start climbing back up the switchbacks. Just a couple, no big deal. I'm at the top of the switchbacks now. So now I just gotta follow the contour of the canyon. I have a little bit of uphill on the way back. Yeah, one thing I've always admired, right across the canyon, look at that Torrey pine right there. That is a beauty. Pinus torreana, subspecies torreana. Right next to it, that real skinny tree, that's an Araucaria columnaris, called Cook Island pine, but it's not a pine, whereas the Torrey pine most certainly is a pine. Oh yeah. So I do have a little bit of a walk to get back to, have to walk down, back to my car. I gotta walk down Gramercy a little bit. Ooh, an orange-throated whiptail. Orange-throated whiptail. Right there. That's an orange-throated whiptail. Aspidocilus hyperithra. I believe our subspecies Beldingi, I believe. I hope that got on camera. Yeah. I think that might have been one of the first ones I ever got on camera. Had to have been visible. That orange-throated whiptail. Those things are hard as heck to get on camera. I think our subspecies is Beldingi, I believe. I'll have to double check that one. Oh, wow. It's cool. I don't see those super often. Or if I do, it's a very fleeting glance and it's gone. Cool, orange-throated whiptail. Very happy to have seen that. We'll just call that another awesome herp sighting here in Ruffin Canyon. Those things are supposed to be on the, I think on the, I don't know if it's California species of special concern or on the endangered list, because they love coastal sage scrub, which is what this is, and they can be locally common when you find them. I've seen several of them in a span of 5 minutes in San Clemente Canyon one time, but their habitat is diminishing, so right to assume that their populations are diminishing as well. That's so cool. I like that. I'm kind of glad I put these steps here a little bit. There's Taft Middle School over there. Pretty cool. I think it's a, I thought I heard a red-tailed hawk. Yep. You live in San Diego or nearby communities? No, that's something else. That's not a hawk. That was definitely not a hawk. Didn't have that screechy quality. But yeah. Again, if you live in the area, you don't have to live far, you don't have to go far to find adventure. These canyons hold a lot of it. So that's why I come back to some of these spots time after time, because they just have so much to offer. So my suggestion is go on Google Earth, look up these little canyon open space places, make a plan, get your directions, visit, head to one. You will not regret it. I've done a lot of these canyons many times. Never regretted it. All right. Taking this nice, easy, gentle uphill back. Should be back pretty soon. Should be back at the trailhead within a couple of minutes. All right. Here I go. I'm just like a mere 2 minutes away from ending this hike. Here's an old growth buckwheat. Look at this massive old buckwheat trunk right here. Coastal buckwheat, Eriogonum fasciculatum, variety fasciculatum. That is an old stem. Really beautiful. And they're starting to bloom too. They bloomed for a long time last year, all the way into late fall and early winter. They were still blooming. Here we are up on the mesa top, just about to end this hike. What a beautiful hike this was. This was a good time today. I had a really good time on this one. Last time I was here, it got pretty hot. It was in the mid, I think it was in the mid 80s. It was like at least 85, 86 degrees when I was here back in July. So it was a tough slog getting back. Today it's much nicer. Cherry. How beautiful. breeze is awesome. Alright, just about back at the trailboard kiosk up ahead, but I'm going to have to walk up this little piece of Ruffin Road here, and turn left and walk westbound on Gramercy. I do have a little short little walk back. Not too bad though. And when I came here, there were cars and work trucks parked all over here. So I literally parked down the street. Alright, so there's the intersection of Gramercy this way and Ruffin going that way. So I don't think I'm gonna do a video on the road. There's a nice big chamise in the wash right here. Right there. There's a nice big chamise right there in the wash. So cool. Look at that. There's the middle school. So I'm going to get off and start walking down the sidewalk. Beautiful lemonade berry. Yeah, there was a work truck parked here earlier. Well, this is going to do it for my hike today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you on my next video.